Hi there, this is Teresa Eicher with Counseling and Wellness Services of Archibald. We are in partnership with Jill Holgrave Wellness Consulting, and I'm excited today to take some time with you and talk a little bit with you about the habit loop. On September 11th, you had a handout that was sent to you in regards to the habit loop, and that explains it in a little bit more detail. But today, as we talk about it, I just want to take some time and talk about the accompanying thoughts that oftentimes go with the habit loop. So let's jump right on in. Let's start with the cue. The cue is many times the trigger to what starts the habit loop. And so if you think of a trigger, many times what I think about is a gun and the trigger on a gun and how we pull that trigger back. And as we pull it back, the bullet shoots out. And so in life triggers, many times we experience the trigger, and as that happens, automatic thoughts and automatic feelings start to take place. And if you think about behavior change, a lot of times what we think about is our cognitions, which are thoughts, plus our feelings equals our behavior. And so this is kind of a classic take on cognitive behavioral therapy. So our thoughts plus our feelings equals our behavior. So if we are wanting to change our behavior, many times it's difficult to change our feelings about something. Those are pretty automatic. It goes on in our brain, and our brain moves us immediately into our feeling. However, we can change our thinking with something, and that's where we're going to put our time in. So I'm going to share with you a little bit about a habit that I used to engage in and struggle with earlier on in my career. And so it was my first job out of my master's, and what I would find is that I would oftentimes work late days. And so I would many times work 10 to 12 hour days. I would get home late, and really I was pretty tired by the time that I got home. So many times I was looking at what is it that I can eliminate out of my evening schedule so that I can just rest, relax, and recoup for the next day. So what is the trigger? What's the cue? The cue is me overworking. The cue is me having 10 to 12 hour days. And so let's look at the thoughts that led me to have 10 to 12 hour days. So one of the first thoughts was, I will do that later. So I would encounter things in my day, and rather than just knocking it out or getting it done or getting it partially done, I would think to myself, it's okay, I'm going to do that later. And before I knew it, I would have multiple tasks as I encountered my day where it was like, I'm just going to do that later. And what I was really doing was kind of setting myself up, and I was sabotaging myself in the use of my time during that day. So then I would work a longer day, getting those tasks for that day done. And as I was driving home, I would get into a thought loop where I would say, okay, I'm tired. What can I do when I get home? What can come off the list? And I would start identifying things that could come off the list. And one of those things was my workout. And it wasn't necessarily an intense workout or a long workout. A lot of times I was doing, 20 minutes of Pilates. So nothing crazy intense or really long in length. But Pilates was something that, helped me feel strong. It helped me relax. It really did ultimately help me to recoup from my day in a really positive way. But the idea of just putting more energy out and not being able to immediately eat when I got home, I didn't like that. And so I would say things to myself like, it's okay, I can skip this one day. It's okay, it's not that big of a deal. Like, I'm really just more interested in eating dinner right now. And so I'm just gonna eat dinner, and then I'm gonna do other things that help me relax tonight. And what I was really doing there is I was engaging in minimization. I was telling myself that it was okay to skip it, when in fact I knew the truth of the matter was that it was really easy to use this habit loop to skip 2, 3, sometimes 4 workouts during my week and save everything for the weekend. So if we look at the The routine is the behavior that we engage in. And so what is my behavior here? My behavior is skipping my workout. And so many times I would skip my workout and move straight into cooking up some dinner, having my dinner, and then moving into some form of relaxing activity. And while the activity was relaxing, it wasn't necessarily mentally recharging like something like Pilates would offer me. And so I would get some mild benefit from that, but I wouldn't necessarily feel the benefit that I would oftentimes feel if I were able to connect multiple days of doing Pilates together at the end of my week. And so the behavior is the idea that I would skip it. And so what's my immediate reward? My immediate reward was that I got to eat. The truth was that I was pretty hungry by the time that I got home. I'd had a 10 to 12 hour day, and many times I didn't necessarily pack along a dinner with me because the truth is that I really hoped to be home earlier than that. And so the reward here was that I got to have the instant gratification of eating dinner and then doing something else that I felt was relaxing in that evening. And so what we have to keep in mind with many of these habit loops is that there is an immediate reward, and that typically we like that reward quite a bit. And so I won't lie, I did really enjoy coming home and just having dinner right away. But the truth is that there's an ultimate consequence here. So this type of thinking that I was using was ultimately leading me to, feel disconnected from myself, sometimes disconnected to others. It was leading me to feel pretty fatigued, and over a period of time could very easily build up into experiencing burnout. And something in my profession that's very real is burnout. And so I really had to catch this and get in tune with the habit loop that I was building and break the habit loop. So what did I do? How did I do that? So I did a few things. The first thing that I did was that I went back and I looked at my schedule, and I had to build in some time into my schedule where I could do other activities outside of necessarily meeting with my clients. And so there's a lot of times just administrative work that comes with meeting with clients. And so I had to build that into my schedule and become more strategic in that, so that I wasn't waiting until the end of the day to get my paperwork done, to get my billing done, to call and connect with clients who needed to be, have return calls to. So I had to be more intentional in building that schedule for success. Two, I had to catch those thoughts where I was saying, okay, I'm going to save this for later. I'm only going to be able to get part of it done now. I just want to be able to get the whole thing done at once. I'm going to save this for later. I had to catch those thoughts, and I had to challenge myself that there's value in even just starting it. And so if I can start it now and finish it later, ultimately it's going to be a shorter day for me, and I'm going to be more effective in management of my time. And so there is value in me doing this right this moment. Let's get started with it. And next, I had to be really intentional about that thinking as I was going home. And so as I was going home and I was saying to myself, oh, it would be so nice. It would just be so nice just to go home, have dinner, have a relaxing evening. I had to remind myself, okay, this is my habit loop. The risk here is that at the end of the week, I won't feel well. At the end of the week, I won't feel like I have the energy to have productive connection time with people who really matter in my life. And so I need to be intentional. And even doing a little bit of Pilates is going to be worthwhile to not feel this way at the end of the week. So let's just start. Let's just start with 10 minutes. And the truth is that if I could move into that 10 minutes, I could do 20 minutes. And so I found myself, if I could get the 10 minutes in, that I could do the 20 minutes, and that I could refrain from engaging in that habit loop. So I would encourage you to take a look at, how does this apply to your life, and how does this apply to maybe some of the negative habit loops that we've developed. Maybe get the sheet out from September 11th and just kind of start writing down and breaking it down of What is my habit loop? What is my cue? What am I doing? How am I being triggered? What is the behavior that I'm engaging in? How is that affecting me? What's the behavior? What is it that I need to change as I navigate this process? And how can I change this self-talk that I engage in? Where do I need to challenge it? And just take some time and take some reflection and just become intentional. If we can change one thing about that habit loop that might alter the course of it, what would it be? And let's maybe establish a goal on how we're going to change that negative talk, how we're going to change that one piece of that habit loop to alter the course. All right. Well, I hope that you are well, and I look forward to next week.